Then, first thing, I'll call this meeting to order of the Tourism and Tax Committee. First thing will be discussion and action on the minutes from February the 19th, 2020. A motion to accept the minutes.
I second.
Terry,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Juanita,
Aye.
Charles,
Aye.
Norval.
Aye. The next thing would be discussion action on the financial report ending January 2020. And since we have Angelica here, who I guess prepares these things, I'm also going to move item 8, discussion and action of the proposed budget for fiscal year 2021 up to this point where we can go through all that at once. Any cross points or anything, we can take care of it at this point. So, Jody,
Yes.
you're on.
Okay, starting off, we have $639,098.20, $5,200 to the wayfinding signage program and public art program, $6,000 to the Alva Chamber of Commerce Northwest Oklahoma Visitor Center Secretary, $31,250 to the Alva Bull Battle, $8,300 to the Reunion 2020, $3,360 to the Budget for Tourism Advertisement Promotions Committee through June 2020, $7,550 to the 2020 Nesatanga Arts Festival, $26,300 to the Big Cruise and Car Show, $4,500 to the Alva's Crazy Cool Boulevard Cruise, $150,000 to the Alva Arena Authority, $500 for Future, $2,500 for Standing, which leaves us with $393,638.20.
So you have financials that run to the end of January, and then you have another set that runs to currently the end of March. I guess I will jump right in and first off ask the question from what we read in the paper, et cetera, do we actually have these funds totally available?
And I can run and go grab a copy of the audit out of my office. I forgot to grab that, but there are some funds that are due to the Tourism Tax Commission that have been borrowed from the general fund, essentially. And so all of the CDs are there now. They're invested for various lengths of time. The cash is essentially what has been borrowed or loaned to the general fund. At the city council meeting on Monday, we talked about going out for a line of credit. That line of credit would be there, in fact, so that when you guys would need the money, you and the other areas that we borrowed funds from, that it would be available to you. And so that's why we're looking for that line of credit, so that cash flow is there in the event that you guys would need access to it. Does that make sense?
Makes sense, I believe, to me. So really the cash amount we're looking at, it may not be available.
Yes. And we'll kind of, when we talk about the budget, we'll talk about that a little bit more, because we're budgeting, what we're budgeting for in the next year. You know, we would make sure that cash would be available would be available to you as well. So we took that into consideration when we were putting the, like when Jody and I were talking about the budget, and I know visited with Connor about it when we're looking at that, making sure that those funds would be directly available. There's nothing that you have encumbered that we wouldn't be able to use. What Jody talked about, those funds, are all taken into account and would be available there as well. So, does that answer your question?
So what's the dollar amount?
That is borrowed.
Yes.
The audit report, let me just go grab it real quick. I apologize, I meant to grab it. Essentially, at the time of the April financial statements, it is the dollar amount of the cash, the claimable pool cash. Yes, ma'am. So I can go tell you what the audit report says, but that's as of the end of.
So this happened between
2019.
January and April?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. This has been.
So we never had the cash. We talked about it, and we never had it.
Yes, ma'am.
So walk us through tomorrow. The Arena Authority comes and says, we want our money.
That money has been encumbered, and so if you would need that, we would make that available. We would work to make that available. So, like I said, the amounts that we have encumbered, we would make available.
So what about amounts we may encumber, additional amounts?
Well, and so that's when we're talking about the budget. Like I said, we budgeted accordingly to what we felt we would be able to access in the next fiscal year. And so, for what you guys have, and Connor, you tell me if you think that I'm saying anything you don't agree with, as far as what you guys have on the agenda and what you have, you have funds available this year that are within budget. So anything that you would want to encumber in the next months, we would make available to you guys. And as I said, go ahead, Connor.
No, I think you're describing it, exactly how it is. Council's taking, the Finance Committee's taking steps to make sure we can continue to operate as normal. And so as far as how we operate, I think the entire city's going to have to make budget cuts for many reasons, but as far as how we operate, we can't operate as if there's no money, because the council's taking steps, budgeting for a surplus, going after that line of credit in the case that we absolutely do need that money in that moment. There's that safeguard to protect that, and taking steps to pay that back.
And you mentioned so you kind of look back also from a year ago, and you kind of built in, okay, that's.
Yes, and so essentially, we're looking, and I don't want to talk about the budget because we're not there yet, but when we talk about that, we're looking at what revenue we anticipate coming in and therefore what we're able to spend as well. So, but as far as the financial statements are concerned, we have money coming in. Even in the last month, we have money coming in, and so making sure those funds are available for any things that you would want to do in this meeting or the June meeting as well. So,
Being very conservative with projected revenue as
Yes.
well, along with budgeting for that surplus.
So then my next question is, we have 8 motels in Alva. We have 5 paying funds. For one thing, it's unfair to the hotels that pay their funds, that others are not. I assume the city doesn't collect their share of the funds from these hotels that are not paying?
we, what we currently do, the cities are or the motels are responsible for reporting their revenue and reporting those funds to us. The city, we monitor that, and we have to report that also to the state because of just the regulations that are involved there. And so we in the past, if a motel has gotten exceptionally behind, then the city has written letters and worked to, to basically work to get those monies back. But there's not an active, you didn't submit this, why aren't you paying? It's more, the approach in the past has been that as they come in, we kind of monitor it, and if it gets far enough behind, then we would send out a letter to collect, to ask for those monies and why, or at least the reporting of those monies, even if they haven't paid them, making sure that they're at least reporting so we know what that looks like, we know where we're in arrears at.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Is that what's happening right now?
We are watching that.
Hotels?
Let's
Two
see.
that are a year.
Say that again.
There's two that are like over a year.
They are, and let's see here. Some of them are smaller, and so some of them have reported no activity. There are some that we have reports of zero activity. Some of the smaller, because not only is it hotels, it's like the B&Bs in town as well. And so
I'm
there's
not
some small
counting
ones.
them,
Right,
because they
you're
come
just-
and go.
Right, that is correct.
I understand, but
Yep.
I'm talking about actual hotels.
The actual
I know,
bigger
yeah.
hotels. And those, I would have to look at our ordinances, new person, I'm interim also, so there's new person in here, so I need to look and do some research, Norval, I guess is what I'm telling you, on what we can do. I will honestly tell you, I'm not sure what that looks like. So I am more than happy to take a look at those ordinances and see
Well,
what
I know
we
one
can
thing.
do. I know what's been done in the past, and that's, up to this point,
And
that's where we're at.
sometimes it's been done and then they've been brought back, but we have some that are way behind.
Okay.
And we are able, as far as I've been told all along, to authorize an audit, and we pay for it out of this committee.
Yes.
And we have talked, and this committee has already voted that we're willing to do that. And so, I know you're intern and just starting, so, but whatever,
Okay.
we'd like a further report on this,
Okay.
maybe at a
And we
future
did leave, it is budgeted that there is an audit, about $15,000 for an audit.
Right,
If that's
I've
something,
seen that in there, yes.
so if that's something we would like to move forward with, I don't know the process on that. We've never done that here, to my knowledge, and so we can start looking into what that would entail and moving forward with that. That sounds like what you would like some information on that, maybe brought back to the committee?
That would be great too, that and the, how the collection efforts are going.
Okay.
So can we assume that that you're not even collecting sales tax on this if we're not collecting tourism tax?
Sales tax is a separate reporting mechanism. It is separate from the hotel motel tax. The hotel motel tax is reported, and the city is responsible for managing and handling that. Sales tax is done through the tax commission, and so that is separate. So I couldn't say that it's being done the same way. The tax commission handles all of that side of things.
So
But
you don't know whether you're getting sales tax from them month to month or not?
we go through and look at that, and we can see what's being reported. That as far as making sure that it's collected and making sure that they're reporting that, the city does not take that responsibility. That's the responsibility of the tax commission.
But you have access to their sales.
We have access to
what they have reported to the
what's
state.
being reported to the state,
So
yes,
that
ma'am.
would be what they would owe the city times 5%.
There are some allowances for exemptions there,
But
because,
those exemptions have to be
Filed.
filed and
Yes,
written, and
yes, they do.
the last I checked, there wasn't any filed and written.
and I would have to be able to, in order to be able to see what they're reporting to the tax commission, I would have to have their tax ID number. We don't always have that information as well. I don't. We can ask for that information so then we can see who specifically is or isn't reporting, but we would have to have their state sales tax number to be able to look at that as well.
That
And
would be a
that's
really good place to
really,
start.
and that's a really
And
accessible
simple.
thing to get, because
Yes.
I have to have mine posted in my office.
Yes,
Right on the wall,
yes,
anybody can look at it.
I'm not saying that we couldn't obtain that information, but we would have to have that information to be able to specifically see what they're reporting to the tax commission.
Wouldn't somebody already have that information here?
Potentially, yes. We don't have like a business license application or anything where they, like when they apply for a certificate of occupancy, that's not one of the pieces of information we require. So, we can look at that though and see what we do have, and it would be, like Norval said, it's posted, we should be able to access that information, so. I will look further into that.
All right, thank you. We appreciate it.
The state is collecting the city sales tax, right?
Mhm.
So you should be getting a report on that every month, then, right?
Yes, sir. But once again, we would have to know, in order to see that, I would have to specifically know the hotel's sales tax, their state sales tax number, to be able to look it up and see.
You'd think there'd be an association between the sales tax and the tourism tax. I mean,
Yes,
we might be only getting 80%, you know, or
you
whatever
are
that may
correct,
be.
yes, yes.
Just as a ballpark thing to know kind of where we're at.
I just thought we already had this information in the past. I mean, I would assume that that would be somewhere around here. I don't know who takes care of that with the hotels. I mean, and
Well, it's posted, the motel tax is posted before every meeting, and they collect it quarterly, 30 days after.
tax numbers,
That
that
tax,
list.
I don't think they needed our.
I don't know that. I will look into that, and
Okay,
I'll
it's
come
a
back to the
separate
next
deal.
meeting and
Right,
we can talk
exactly.
about, we'd have further discussion on this at the next meeting. I have no problem with coming back and reporting what I've found and see what we'd like to do moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
So is the one hotel, the big one, closed? It appears to be closed, the one between Days Inn and
Corner?
The
Days
Comfort,
Inn and,
he's talking about the Comfort.
Is it closed?
I don't know.
It looks deserted. I mean, there's no action.
Because they have the days, the comfort, and the holiday.
Right. It's the one in
The
between.
one in between?
Yeah.
I haven't been out that far, Walmart as far as I've been, I haven't looked.
It sure would appear that, but I don't know.
I noticed that
I don't know.
I noticed their motel tax was way down. I mean, I didn't know which, one of them, and I figured it was that one because I had to go to see other, I had to go and see other two, or the ones I. I know it's been slow.
Do we have any more questions on the January financial report?
Just looking at it, it looks like, you know, if you projected out the two that didn't report this quarter, from what I'm seeing on the report here, we'd be off about 25% below the last quarter. Is that what you're saying? Assuming that the other two were approximately the same, say $5,000 there, if you added it to the 9, you'd have close to 15,000. There's 20,000 before, so you're about at 25%.
Yeah, which I'm glad it's not worse than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trending the wrong way.
Right. If there's no further questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the January financial report, and we can go on to the April.
Okay. If this says we have 639,000 cash in the bank, that is not really true, is that right?
That would be the CDs, and if all the cash was there that was,
So it would really be 319,000 cash in the bank.
And when you look at this, this is not cash in the bank, this is what's available in our pooled cash
That is
account.
what, yeah, and they're pooled
Like in
account.
a city account.
Right,
No,
that
this is the Tourism Tax Commission's claim on pooled cash. So of the total dollar amount that we have in our bank account, your portion is $315,000.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, thank you.
Yes, ma'am, encumbered.
Yeah, that is, the encumbrances are not part of the cash balance that we have because we haven't paid those bills yet. So I think Jody, what her report is where she backs all that out, it tells you what the encumbered amount is.
Okay, I move we approve the financial report for, what's that, January?
January. We have a motion to approve the January financial report for 2020.
Second.
One second.
Juanita,
Aye.
Charles,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Norman.
Aye. And the next is action on the April 2020 report. Jody,
Oh, I read that was for.
you read, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, that was for
sorry.
April?
Yeah,
So
that
we
was
need to redo
April.
that, because I'm,
Well, actually,
it's,
they're the same because we did, I mean, we may have a little more money from people paid in, but we didn't encumber any
Yeah,
more
I took it
things.
off of the April one.
so,
She did, yeah.
I'll just say we can pull up the February.
so
Yeah, February.
this is for April.
Yes, the one that I read.
So I need to make a motion to approve the April, and we just,
Well,
or do we have to do the first one?
no, we've already approved, I mean, we still have approved the January one. And
Okay,
all she did was read the April
Yeah.
incumbent.
out to
total.
us, okay,
Yeah.
yes, okay, so,
Yeah.
sorry.
So
No,
we're
sorry.
in good shape.
Okay.
One thing, reunion, it looks like reunion 2020 isn't happening, so that one.
And Angelica, you said that the ones like those events that are not happening, that we just tell you guys to, whenever they're ready to have their event, that's how, okay, with the bull battle and everything, that's
Yes,
one of
for the
them.
bull battle, you said they were gonna do theirs later in the year.
Or maybe next year.
You guys, if it would be later this summer, we wouldn't have to redo an encumbrance, but if it would be all the way next year, then we would wanna revisit that.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a time, I think there is a time frame. Because
Yeah,
their application actually says when the event is.
right.
And
And then 3 months, 90 days or whatever.
so that would be something we would need to, we've never really had to address the deal of
Right.
somebody postponing the event.
And that's 2 of them right there.
And so we would need to check that out since we approved them and we approved them for that date.
Mhm.
We may have to approve them again. In fact, I would almost bet we have to
Yeah.
approve them again.
Okay. Makes sense.
We'll ask the city attorney. He doesn't have anything to do.
All right.
has any questions on the April financial report, I would entertain a motion to approve it, and we'll go on to the budget.
I move that we approve the April 2020 financial report.
Have a motion? Second?
Connor, Juanita,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Charles, Norm.
Aye. All right, next is discussion and action on proposed budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. And those, in my book, it's behind all the proposals there. So it's the last 2 pages in the main deal in my book. So probably this one. And you're up.
All right, so we'll just talk about, Jody and I had a lot of conversations, and Connor through Finance Committee, we've discussed kind of the thought process behind our budget. So we budgeted $150,000 in revenue from hotel motel tax. When we look back over the last 5 years of revenue, the lowest was just a little bit above $150,000, and that would have been in 2016. So when the oil bust had come in and things were our economy was pretty low, and so that was the number that we used to estimate hotel motel tax revenue for next year. And then the interest income is based off of the CDs that you have, and so that should be consistent with what we've received this year in interest income. For expenses, $6,000 is the $6,000 that goes to the Chamber of Commerce every year, so we left that as is. And then for tourism tax and conventions, budgeted $165,000 there. And I will talk about just a little bit about the mindset there. Is we know that we have $150,000 that we've committed to the Arena Authority. Now we know, it's my understanding that that is committed after construction of the Arena Authority. Is that, like, it's for operations of the Arena Authority, is that correct?
It's for personnel, and so I think they can access it whenever they hire personnel.
So the thought process is more than likely that's not going to be in the next year. We have it on the books, so we have at least $150,000 budgeted, knowing that it's not likely that that will be accessed for the entire year, more than likely, but it's there. And then as revenue comes in, that gives us the flexibility to accept projects throughout the year, based on in my opinion, based on the revenue that comes in next year. So if our revenue is consistent with the $150,000, then we're just looking at that. We can go from budget our projects accordingly. Does that make sense? If you guys have a different mindset or would like to see something different, this is open for definitely open for discussion. Here, I would like to have input from you all. The other piece of it is then we did $15,000 for the audit, just as we discussed. That is something that has been discussed, and we wanted to make sure we left that on the books for next year. That being said, if our revenue stays at $150,000 and we would spend $186,000 as budgeted, we would use our fund balance of about $31,000. So we would use our cash balance down of about $31,000. Once again, if revenues are above where we anticipate, there would be additional money there to spend, and if they're below, you can always scale projects back. Or if you don't want to scale projects back, that is also your guys' discretion. We would just, deplete some of the resources from the previous years. And that's why, going after that $1 million line of credit is important to the city, so that gives you guys the ability to still fund the projects that you feel are appropriate.
So before, when we've just budgeted a large amount just so that we had it, like if somebody shows up and said, the Arena Authority shows up and says, we really need something, we can, or something, we can do that. proposing to budget, then we're going to have to readdress the budget again.
Yes, yes, and we could make budget, if you decided that you wanted to fund more projects than what we have budgeted, we would want to go back to finance committee, in my opinion, have a conversation with them, because it's they're who recommends, the finance committee and the city manager, whoever that may be, would recommend those budget adjustments to city council for approval. So if we decided we wanted to do more than what we had budgeted, yes, we would have to amend that budget. But it would need to go be a conversation with the finance committee or representative, which you have one on your board, representative from the finance committee. So. Connor, do you agree?
Yeah.
So 150 that we set aside for the arena authority is not in here then?
It is currently,
It is now.
currently there, yes, as an encumbrance, knowing that probably that's not going to be accessed. It could be, it's there. And correct me if you would like to rethink that thought process, I have no problem with discussing that. But
I didn't know if we needed to include that, since they may not access it this year, then we were talking about that it won't be, we'll have to revisit it because they haven't accessed it in a certain amount of time from when they made the request.
I think
So is it
that's
not-
a different
That-
commitment.
Yeah,
Just
because
a
they didn't
different
have a
commitment?
time date
Okay, okay.
on their request. They-
Okay,
They needed that to be able to apply
get get
for
grants or
their
whatever.
money.
Theirs wasn't a normal application.
Okay.
It was a letter of commitment from the Tourism Tax
I got
Commission.
it. Okay.
And that was on an annual basis, is that correct?
Right.
Yes, because we can only commit
1 year at a time.
1 year at a time.
Yes.
So,
It seems like, exclusive of the arena thing, we've been giving away 180, 200,000 a year. Is that kind of where we?
And that's what this says, 188, 179. So. I mean,
So far
it's
this
in the
year.
ballpark, and if there's less
Well, if
elections.
there's- then you add another 150 to that, and all of a sudden.
See, and that's what, so does it need to be 330?
Yeah, and that's kind of what we've done in the past, is always make sure that it was big enough to
Yes.
cover whatever we might want to do.
Right.
But does that mess up the city's budget when we do that?
Well, if we don't use it, but we've said we don't have to use it.
And so I'll tell you, we've talked about in city council on Monday that we are looking to budget for a surplus this year. And in putting our overall budget together, the lower budget for the Tourism Tax Commission is part of that strategy, to budget a surplus. Because typically, yes, we do budget it's usually around $350,000 for tourism tax. However, typically, we don't spend that much. And so, you are correct that we do usually budget.
Big amounts.
Big
We don't worry
amounts,
about it.
yes,
We
so
can
then,
do what we want to do.
However, we do have, there is money in your reserve, in your claim and pool cash, and so that's why we're going out for the line of credit, so that if we would need to access that money, it would be available. And there is the potential that you could do, ask for a budget amendment to change what your budget is for the year, in the event that something would come about that would allow, that you would want to spend that money on. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, makes sense. But if we do want to do that, then we have to go to the finance committee and to the council.
Yes, a budget amendment would have to go be approved through city council, yes. And I mean, essentially, the finance committee, we are asking for all of our boards to balance their inflows and outflows for next year. So what's coming in next year is what we spend next year, essentially. And here we've allowed for an additional amount because, we would be utilizing about $30,000 of reserves. And so essentially that's what we're asking of this board as well, is if we can look to balance those inflows and outflows so that we can, as a city, budget for a surplus and work to return the borrowed funds.
Finance meeting?
Well, I think the whole idea of this still is, if the arena were to use that money, I think that would be the instance that we would ask for a budget amendment. And I think we would need to, and I would argue for it. I mean, we can't, what they call that money, we can't just say, everybody else, sorry. So, I don't see why, I would think that we would need to do the budget amendment, and I would voice that. But the idea is that, that they're not going to use it, but.
I know, I think, looking at the numbers, it looks good. Right now, just looking back from the others, that everything would be fine, unless,
Well, I think it's
something.
something that maybe we would have had a little more conversation about it if we would have had all of the information in front of us, to getting us to this point. That's neither here nor there, but I'm open ears.
I think we need to ask for it because I think the arena's important and I just don't. Because money's there in our surplus, in our real.
So
The whole thing, and I know everybody needs to do their part to
later.
try to figure out this, but I think we need to ask for the extra 150, because where I'm at. So,
Okay. So Terry,
but it does,
we didn't ask
it
for it
still has to be
now.
approved, but
Okay. So we would have.
I don't know how that all works, so let's wait.
Would that save from having to do the amendment later if we do?
Can they deny it if we ask to?
I don't know.
That's.
I've never.
You're asking the new guy.
Well, and
Can they say, sorry, no, this is what your budget is? That's what I'm afraid of.
It might be better to ask now than wait.
We'll ask your opinion.
I'm going to tell you, and Connor, you can tell me if we are asking all of our board, just like I said, this is the strategy of the finance committee, is that we are looking to balance inflows and outflows. We want those to be the same, or as close to the same as that we can, because the city as a whole, we're all having to make cuts. We've discussed, what budget cuts we can make, what staffing cuts we can make. We've talked about looking, with the things with the EMS department. There's a lot of things as a whole that we are asking of our employees and of our other boards. And so I hear what you're saying and I understand it. At this point in time, for, speaking on behalf of, Connor, speaking on behalf of the Finance Committee, the strategy that we're asking is for all of our boards to understand that this year is going to be a lean year, our revenues are going to be lower, and that we need to do our best to balance the revenues and the expenses for the year so that going forward we have a strong future. Do you feel any differently?
It's still $178,000 less than what we requested this year, last year, the year before. So it's still over. If we request 508,000, that's still 178,000 less if we added 150 to that. So that's kind of like doing our part, I think.
It is, but it's not as far as balancing the inflows and the outflows. When we are anticipating that our revenue is only going to be $150,000 this year. Yes, it is decreasing our budgeted amount. However, it is not balancing the revenues and the expenses. And with all, with all of our boards, our rec center board, our cemetery board, our airport board, we are asking everyone to try to balance our inflows and outflows. So those other smaller areas of the city, we're balancing, or we're asking for a balanced budget essentially.
Isn't this board kind of unique in the fact that we have reserves when you don't have reserves for the airport board? You don't have reserves for all these others where you're paying salaries. We're basically not paying salaries
And
at this point.
you're unique in the fact that you're not paying salaries. However, all of these other boards that we've asked similar
They have
requests of, they
reserves.
all have reserves as well that have,
Rec Park has big reserves.
Right.
the airport has
Would the
has
airport have
reserves.
reserves too?
They do, yes.
Okay.
Yes, all of our other boards have reserves as well that they could utilize, and we're asking them all to do the same as well. So it's not like we're just asking you guys to balance your budget. It's everyone that we're asking to do that. And if you don't want to approve the proposed budget, Connor and I can go back to the finance committee and have that discussion.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess, it all comes down to whether the arena authority gets going and needs that money. If they don't, the idea is that they're not, it's just a matter of whether you think it'll get going or not. And, I'd be glad to
Certainly
get,
hope they will. A lot of work's been put into it.
Well, and I think you're just meaning more in the next 12 months.
right, yes, yes. But, yeah, be glad to revisit it, talk about it again.
I understand what you're saying. However, I feel like we're asking the same of this board that we've asked of all the other boards that we've worked towards a balanced budget.
It's a tough one.
So basically what you're in, I hear you saying, I think we are encouraging us to stay with the lower budget and then go for the amendment if we have to.
Yes, sir.
I'm okay with that.
In the case that we needed to go for an amendment, if the arena authority used all that money, and if we played that situation out, we can't just, in my opinion, we can't just stop funding these projects.
These projects bring money to the town.
No, right, I know, and that's what I'm saying. I don't, in my opinion, I don't think we're just gonna say, the arena authority is using their money, sorry, we're done. I don't think that would happen. I would not agree. You can't just halt everything that we continually do. That's just not common sense. You have to find other ways to do things. That's just my thought. That's what I would, if it came down to that, I would not be for, I would not vote down a budget amendment.
But you're one person.
Well, yeah,
So,
I understand, yeah, no, I understand, that's why it makes it a tough decision. I'm just saying how I feel, but yeah, you're right, I'm one person. You're right. So, yeah, that's what makes it a difficult decision.
Can we, I don't know, I know we're thinking it through. Should we table that or move forward?
I may know, so.
We have to approve this before June 30th, correct?
No, it will be sooner than that. We'll probably likely need to have a special meeting to discuss budget again, so.
But it has found me, so.
point where we need somebody to make a motion one way or the other.
To what?
I think we're at that point, we need somebody to make a motion one way or the other.
To
We're going to go with this budget, or we're going to go with a larger budget.
I moved that we would amend the budget to 330,000 for the fiscal year 2020, 20, 21, 20 and 21.
You just had 150 to 180, that's what you're.
Yeah, and I left off the 6,000 too, so.
Yeah, I'll second it.
A motion and a second.
Juanita,
Aye.
Connor,
No.
Charles,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Norman.
Aye. And if you need to call us back in, we're good.
Can do that. I'll let you know, Connor, and I'll visit with the finance committee. We'll have a meeting like the next week and visit about it, and I'll give you a call and we'll let you know.
And you, I mean, and Connor knows exactly
Mhm.
why this
I
was done to, you know, we all had this fear of going in front of the city council and going,
Wait till next year. Yeah,
I understand. I'll let you know what I find out.
thank you.
Thank you, guys. You have a great evening.
All right. Next is the discussion action on the Northwest Junior Rodeo, and they did not appear. I understand that they're withdrawing their requests at this time. And next is discussion action on the Alva Rotary Club 4th of July Spectacular, not to exceed $10,000.
So, 2020 4th of July COVID-19 style, I guess is what we're going to call this one. This year's request is a little bit different than obviously the previous years. We've asked for half as much money. We're not going to be able to, or don't anticipate being able to do anything that involves mass gatherings. So, in the idea of still having a fireworks display, we've come up with a plan that would still allow us to have a fireworks display, allow for basic social distancing rules, and still have a 4th of July celebration this year. So, request is $10,000. That's about 2/3 of the fireworks amount that we were able to secure for this year. The plan still would be technically to have it in the park, but that's obviously going to change because that's not a very good venue to have everyone come and sit in cars. Main road to the park, all that stuff, the traffic nightmare. So the plan would be to go to probably the Alva Rec Park, subject to approval. I hate to say things that I haven't asked for permission for, but in theory, what we would do is we would go out to the rec park, use the practice football field right there along Thunderbird Road. There's some concerns about fairgrounds, horses, animals out there, but if, in my justification of that, if you think about it, not but 7-8 years ago, we used to fire from the top tier of the football stadium, which is about 20 feet north of Thunderbird Road. So if we just move down the road and go about 15 feet south of Thunderbird Road, we're not really getting that much closer to anything. I looked at it tonight. There's parking at the Votech, there's parking at the fairgrounds, there's parking at the rec park, there's parking, we could close Thunderbird Road, allow parking along safe distances for everything, and really still be able to have the 4th of July. So probably would be a well-attended event, just considering the fact we don't have anything to go and do. I think it would be a good year to do it. It's a Saturday night this year, I believe, so 4th of July weekend's always kind of fickle where the 4th of July falls. Sometimes that means everybody's out of town at the lake. Sometimes it means that everyone's back at home. This year we don't really know what to expect. So no daytime activities, no meals, no nothing. Just fireworks, old school like we used to do when Rotary would come and say we're going to have stuff at the football field. I'd like to go back into Northwestern, but since they have turf and everything like that, it's not worth jeopardizing all of that. Plus that makes people have to get in the stands, and I'm not going to get there and draw 6-foot circles or anything like that. So people come in their cars, stay in their cars, stay away from each other. I think there's plenty of places to park. No budget for sound or anything like that. I talked to the people at KRDR. We could actually just put it on the radio, play the patriotic music, let everyone sit in their cars, listen to it, do it, and go from there. So, pretty simple request. It's a weird year. I understand, especially after listening to budget stuff, that fireworks has always been a luxury, and it's an expensive luxury. It is one of our holidays that we like to do things like that on. So our request and our proposal would be that we would spend about the same amount of money that we did last year on fireworks. I won't get into that. We got really lucky. I don't know. The Chinese shut stuff down 6 months ago. But we're in a class, fireworks for what we do here in Alva, that we weren't affected by that. So bigger stuff didn't come over. Small stuff was either stockpiled here or available. Talked to my supplier. They have our order ready to go. That's why we put in for $15,000, kind of like what we usually order. We're asking for the tourism committee to pay for 2/3 of that. Rotary will send out their sponsor rocket stuff and do things from there. There'll be a little bit of advertising, things like that. Obviously, we're going to have to explain that we want you to stay in your car. We want you to park someplace safe. We want you to listen to the radio, normal stuff. But other than that, we can have a fireworks show and plan to have one if we need a little help with it.
So, let's play, what if things continue to reopen and there are people start together and stuff. How late can you make that decision about where you're gonna have the fireworks?
I can change the location, probably. I'm already approved to be in the park, so it wouldn't necessarily be a change to go back there. I think that this is kind of the perfect storm for us. Any program or any organization that wants to do everything, start to finish, 8 a.m. in the morning all the way to 10 o'clock at night. Rotary doesn't have the manpower that it did 10 years ago. I'm sure that's across the board, civic organization-wise. This is kind of the best thing for us to go. My crew's ready. We can safely do this. This is a good off year for us. I mean, no one wants to say the pandemic was perfectly timed, but for us, Rotary probably needed a spell to not have to take 20 members and do all the stuff that we do. I hope our club comes back. I hope we come back stronger. I hope we get more people in there. I want to go back to the things that we used to do, but for us, probably regardless of that, it's not worth the risk. I think that the courthouse, for example, is still closed, even though the Supreme Court thought we could maybe be open this Monday. And no one's really ready to do this. We're out in a rural part of the area, or Oklahoma, and we're not really sure if we've already hit the plateau, missed the plateau, didn't come here, whatever. So for us, the easiest way to do it is let's just go ahead and plan for social distancing, no big congregational deal, let everyone sit in their cars and go from there. I would like to have what we did. I wish we had, and honestly, the other side of it is with the whole city pool situation, this is kind of perfect for us to have another year off. We got bailed out last year by it working, being able to still have the pool available. I don't honestly keep up as well on city politics as what I should, so I don't know where we're at with the pool this summer, but my idea is that this would be perfect for us to have a year where we just went back to old school fireworks, do that and go from there. That really cuts into what is the tourism aspect of it, is the fact of having stuff all day long, meals, games, prizes, all that stuff. But in this year, under these circumstances and what we were dealt with, I think this is the best answer, to still have an event and go from there. I still believe that people will come from wherever, even if they have to sit in their car. If we advertise it appropriately, I think we still put on the best fireworks show for a small town that you'll find. But we don't really know. Every year we talk about how many people come, and it's kind of hard to track, and this will be difficult to see, but in some ways it'll actually be easier because it'll be out on the flat, one of the highest points up in Alva. Everyone will be able to see it. Some people may stay more at their homes than before because the park's like a canyon hidden in the lower part of Alva down there. But I think that as I drove around last year and saw everyone parked at the high school and on all the park street, all the streets down on the south side or north side of Flynn, I think that the people are still going to come. And in fact, this might actually be a good year for them because the people just want to sit in their car. We're going to put everybody up on the same level and just say, here it is, we didn't give up, we still did it. So I don't think we will be in the park. I don't want to be in the park if I don't. I mean, if they came out tomorrow and said, it's gone, we probably plan for it that way, but I don't see that happening. So if COVID-19 is still here in any shape or form, it would probably be best if we're going to do this at all, to just go out to some place where we're spread out on the best locale and let everyone stay as far apart as they want to in their cars and tie it together with radio and music and go from there. So. Any other questions?
I think people are still gonna want to have fireworks here in Alva. I mean, even though we've got stuff going on and it is a safe practice right now until we know more, so.
And this was a bigger plan because this would have gone along with the reunion. And we actually had a lot bigger plans to do. How Rotary was going to get their break a little bit is that the all-class reunion was going to take over some of these events. So in my mind, it was a corrected year, kind of one way or the other. When they canceled and said that, then we'd already committed to cutting out all of our stuff. I mean, we had contingency plans for still some things to happen, but if the reunion's off, and it's because of COVID-19, then I think that we're going to be off as far as daytime events. I mean, I don't like the idea of anybody having a big event on July 4th unless it involves a swimming pool or a water source, because we've been lucky the last 2 or 3 years that it hasn't been 113 degrees, but it is more likely that it can be that way than it's going to be 80 degrees again. So if you don't have that kind of source, I would rather, we can plan for that contingency better when we're in the park, when it's safe, you can get together in the swimming pools there. But when we're going to go out to the rec park, potentially, which is just this flat land on the south side of Alva, that if it's 110 degrees and there's a 20-mile-an-hour wind out of the south, you're not going to have daytime activities that are going to be attended very well, because it's the closest part you'll find to a desert around here during that time period. It's that hot and it's that dry and it's that windy. But that being said, I think it's the best area to do something on a limited basis. 10 o'clock Saturday night, July 4th, we put on a 20 or 30-minute show. The cost per minute is kind of expensive when you think about it, but it has been every year that we've done it. So the difference is that we just don't have the extra, fun and tourism aspect to go with it. I am disappointed that we don't have that, but everybody's dealt the same set of cards on it still, and we're just trying to run with them the way we can, and I think we can still do it. If the town wants to do it, I think we should still do it. So, and we're ready and able to do it, and if not, then it's not something that Rotary can really just pay for on itself. I mean, we can be scaled back a little bit. Usually I think the budget shows at least $5,000 in sponsor rocket revenue. That's gone. During the oil and gas heyday, that was $10,000. It's really kind of an up and down. Rotary has a surplus, if you want to call it that. As we track the event over the years, there's usually $1,000 maybe in the black, $1,500 in the red. It really kind of floats really close. We don't try to come and ask for anything that we don't spend, and don't do that. It's an annual event. We kind of adjust it. I had talked about, I think I've said in front of this committee several times before, I wish I could come back and ask for a little bit less. It's just the problem is that the most expensive part of it is the part that we kind of do best, and fireworks are just never going to get cheaper. They're just going to get more expensive. So as long as they still happen, they're just going to be the price that they are, and you can do it. 25 minutes, 20 minutes is about the max that you can get out of that kind of dollar amount, and it seems like the community response is really pretty good. And we took over from guys that made it that way, and I think we're doing it and maybe doing a little bit better. We've got all the equipment. This tourism committee has helped pay for all this stuff, so for us it's just a continuation of doing there. We'll raise all the money we can on behalf of Rotary, but this year just probably needs to be as limited an event as it can be. Just given that, for safety's sake.
Yeah, there may be more people come in, because I know some towns have already canceled their 4th of July stuff.
From talking with the suppliers, that may be why it's so easy for us to get what we can, is because that we kind of indicated that we're going to do it one way or the other. I don't think there's anything that on a municipal level that would say, hey, you can't do it. We've had that happen before. It's been a drought. It's been so bad that we've canceled the 4th and then we rescheduled it and did it again. But I don't think that's going to be this year. Hopefully it's not. Unless there's some, terrible outbreak this far northwest in Oklahoma that would make it even just doing that would be bad. Well, then obviously we're not going to happen. If we're not going to have it during a drought, we're not going to have it during a pandemic. If there's something actively going on, I think right now it's all cautionary, and I think we can do cautionary entertainment as best as what anyone can do, because I don't have to put everybody in a movie theater and to let them watch a movie. I can put everything spread out all over miles. The mayor called unrelated right before the meeting. It's like he was sitting at his in-laws' house, and they're 4 miles, west of town, and they can see the bottom of the light poles at the rec park. So I'm going to be able to put on a show outside of town, south of town, wherever. Most people inside of town will be able to see it. So the park's probably my least favorite venue just because it's not as showy, but this is going to be one of our more fun years, at the same time not, because it's just we're dealing with circumstances beyond our control.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Alva Rotary Club 4th of July Spectacular for $10,000.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second.
Carrie? Aye. Charles? Juanita? Aye. Connor? Norval?
Aye.
Thank you guys as always.
Thank you. We've already done item 8, the next one, and the next one is remarks and inquiries by the Tourism Tax Committee. Charles, you've been reading in the paper, really nothing happening on the deal, waiting on funding?
Waiting on funding.
I did talk to Jody, and the Crazy Days is definitely happening, and so the Crazy Cool Cruise on that weekend we've already booked. I know that Race has already booked bands and has food trucks committed to come into town and stuff for that day. And the car show, I know that the brochures are kind of being printed, and like it's going to happen, which it will be great for the town if it can. This town needs it.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah, so I'm glad to see. I'm actually glad to see the fireworks go, and we're not.
It just gives everybody a little bit of hope that we can kind of move back.
I think you might be
Semi-normal.
people from out of town,
You may find that's a better deal than what we've been doing. Where people can spread out.
Yeah, I think
they try to surround and look, and rather than get into a crowd.
Yeah, we could have a lot of good activities at the rec park once they could have activities again. I mean, that'll be back like shooting at college.
And families might still get together, maybe come from out of town or nearby and join their family and celebrate here. That's what I was thinking, have a big cookout and still enjoy the fireworks.
Thinking about being closed that
Tailgate.
day, but yeah, I guess I might as well be it. I was looking forward to hanging out all day doing the fireworks stuff.
Yeah, if you ever drive around behind the park, there's a road behind the park that goes behind the cemetery and stuff, and you look at that and you wonder, well, having shot fireworks, I wonder, holy cow, how do we keep from burning half the county down when we shoot? Because that is a jungle
They're
right
good at
there.
it. They're good at what they do.
That would be safer at the rec park.
It will be easier to put the fire out.
The fire truck there, I'm going to adjourn.
Second.
Juanita?
I
Charles?